The hypocrisy here is at an epic, epic level. Now, let's forget for the moment that our government was never tasked with telling us where we could and could not invest our money. Forget the fact that that's the sign of a dictatorship, which I thought was supposed to end with this last election of His Holy High Eminence of Twitter. That all of the executive orders were going to be repealed and true constitutional government of the people, by the people, for the people was coming. But we've seen gun grabs, tariffs, and now bans on private investment. Whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, isn't that up to the American people? And the reason this is such hypocrisy is that if they're going to make the allegation that it would be seen as supporting a evil, dictatorial, socialist regime that doesn't have the interest of its people in mind, let's maybe go to the Wayback Machine here. Are we banned from holding any Saudi currency? Because they've done some things that are pretty damn distasteful, meaning that if a woman would marry a Saudi man in the United States, they travel to that land, then they become slaves, in essence. Property, possessions. And the U.S. has done bupkis about this. Children, U.S. citizens being beaten. This woman had to smuggle her daughter out. 46 cases in addition to Alexandria's in which more than 90 U.S. citizens are being held against their will in Saudi Arabia. U.S. Marines evicting these people from the embassy in Riyadh, allowing them to be arrested. This is a country where you can marry and have relations with a 7 or 8-year-old girl. But we're still allowed to freely travel to and trade in the currencies of these people. This apparently isn't evil enough. Socialism being much more evil, that's why we're banning any kind of financial investment in Venezuela, even though there are American investors right now buying a lien from Rosneft in Russia that was used to back Venezuela. Problems with the custody of American children are not confined to Saudi Arabia. The State Department says there are more than 1,000 children who have been taken overseas and not allowed to return, most of them in Western Europe. But are we banned from investing in the currencies of those nations? You see, and you can say, well, the crypto's not a real currency, it's a fiat currency. Oh, really? A fiat currency? Well, yeah, the Brookings Institute said, it is relatively unsurprising that a dictatorship with little reserve currency has resorted to, a deceitful means like introducing the petro. The petro exists to create foreign currency reserves from thin air. Now, where have I heard that before? Foreign currency reserves from thin air. Where did I hear that before? Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot. The US dollar is now created out of thin air and has absolutely no backing whatsoever since 1976. Where we just decide to magically, digitally print money. We don't even bother to print it anymore. We just go in and we just type in X amount of zeros after a number and abracadabra, because our currency is created out of thin air and the world's reserve currency is the petrodollar, ironically. Petrodollar. Abracadabra, our debt goes away, causing inflation. But then, of course, when we then tie it to assets in other regions, then it gives its value, basically stealing the value. And this is what they talk about when they say the U.S. is a thief, that the U.S. is criminal. And even U.S. citizens, folks like you and me, know what the Fed does every single day, never having been audited. That's all this is. This is just Venezuela doing what the U.S. has been doing for a long time in a different way. The difference with the petro is that they've actually tied it to a real asset that they know is there. This issue with Venezuela, and these are the executive orders you can find at the U.S. Department of the Treasury, all dealing with this issue down there. This is simply the U.S. trying to destroy from inside a very wealthy oil nation in our hemisphere. But the problem they're running into now is they didn't think Russia was going to get this deeply involved in it. And now there's a problem. If you think, I've seen people come here and comment that it's like, oh, the Venezuelan military is just worthless and we can just send a little group of spec ops down there and they can seize Isami and seize Cabello. You're out of your mind. You are absolutely out of your flippin' mind if you think the U.S. has that ability. This is not Yemen. This is not some little third world backwater. Even today, this military is ranked in the top 40 in the world. Do they have money issues? Yeah. Do they have poor people? Yes. We have money issues here, and we have poor people here. I could send you, pictures and pictures and pictures of people from Appalachia and poorer parts of big cities that would make you think America is on the brink of total Armageddon and disaster. And of course, that's what plays out in the media, and that's what the U.S. media likes to play, especially the media that backs the current administration. But this goes back all the way to 2002, when Chavez was still in power, when they seized an oil tanker where they were trying to, this is how long this issue, they've been trying to collapse Venezuela goes back, December 4th, 2002. So this has been a multi-administration tactic that they wanted to seize this country. They wanted to collapse this country, the control of this country. And it has nothing to do with politics. They've been just doing everything they can to bankrupt these people so that the U.S. could go in like they did in Iraq. It's just a giant game. And this is just the latest chapter in it. The only thing that Maduro is doing that is upsetting to the current administration, the previous administration, and the administration before that, is he is calling out American hypocrisy when it comes to finances. The U.S. went to the Saudis, cut a deal, they glutted the market with oil, which drove the price of oil way down, which, coupled with U.S. sanctions, caused the economy of this country to collapse and its currency to become worthless. See, we're immune from it because our currency is backed by the petrodollar. It doesn't matter. And places like Russia and China have figured this out. And they're slowly starting to wean other countries off of this. Down there they have the sucre. They already have a cryptocurrency down there. Did you know that? There's already one down there in South America used but trained by, I think it's Argentina, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, and I think Nicaragua. It's been down there since 2006. It's called the sucre. S-U-C-R-E. So it's not the idea of cryptocurrency. It's that this one exactly mimics the US dollar. Created out of thin air, backed by nothing. And that's why the US had to come in and drop the hammer on it. because they couldn't have their scam, the Fed scam, realized in another country, especially in this hemisphere. And the last thing I will mention, years ago in the military, there was a tactic that we used to track people. You could go into an area and you could contaminate the dirt, dust, and vegetation with low-level radioactive isotopes. A foreign military's powers move through that area, kicking up the dust and the dirt and touching everything, and they become contaminated with this low-level isotope. You could track them by following this and seeing then where this was in a region, and you could do it from a distance so that you didn't have to have people on the ground following certain folks, and you could keep people out of harm's way, and you could still track movements. Well, this technology has been graduated to the use of ink. That when something gets printed, you can contaminate ink with these low-level isotopes as well. And basically what it does, without getting too complicated, is it basically takes away the ability to redact something. That means that you can run a marker over it, and you can't see what's on the sheet visually, but under certain light and certain scanners, everything bleeds right through because of these isotopes. Now, a few videos back, I put out a date of April 4th of this year. The technology isn't perfect. The date that I actually should have been reading was April 14th, not April 4th. So, anyway, I wanted to clarify that at the end of this. Something will be occurring, and I can't say anything more, between April 4th and April 14th of this year. So keep your eyes open. Anyway, U.S. hypocrisy on display. Like, share, subscribe.